Hi there! So you might have just watched my infomercial for my weather unit called What's the Weather? For this project we had to do 3 lesson plans, so language arts, math, and science, all based into the social studies standard of weather. So I decided to base this unit on grade 1 so I can keep it really consistent and appropriate throughout. Even with the factor of working with the English language learners from Austria who are aged 3 to 6. So all students coming in contact with these lessons have the average grade as first grade, even though with the exceptions of maybe 3-year-olds or 6-year-olds who are already either not advanced enough to be in first grade or have already passed first grade. This will still be appropriate for them as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. So this is the table of contents. This ended up actually being around 25 pages long, which is probably the most extensive I've ever had to do for a lesson plan, considering that I am in my first year of college. So obviously we have like the rationale, the concept map, the content outline, the language arts lesson plan, the math lesson plan, the science lesson plan, and a glossary in case there's any words that maybe students need a definition of, or ask for the teacher to give them, or that the teacher actually needs, so that's there. We have the resources, so that's like the worksheets and the pictures, and then we have the pictures of the science gizmo. So for my rationale for this lesson, I created this unit with the first grade classroom in mind, and then it's based on the National Curriculum Standards for Social Studies Standards 3. The study of people, places, and the environment enables us to understand the relationship between human populations and the physical world. During their studies, learners develop an understanding of spatial perspectives and examine changes in the relationship between people, places, and environments. This standard was chosen because it really takes out and brings out the point that weather affects everyone every single day, no matter where they are. And it really does have a relationship with people and how they work and what they wear and just like so many factors, so I felt like this was a good standard to base my lesson on. So I'm going to go ahead and show my concept map for weather. So for the science gizmo, the students are going to identify the different types of weather and dress accordingly. For the language arts plan, which is using the 6E model, they're going to go ahead and read a book about the 4 seasons and deepening their weather knowledge. And then for mathematics, it uses the backwards design model, so they're going to be adding and subtracting numbers 1 to 20 and organizing charts and weather data. And then this is just like the content outline. And then let's go ahead and move on to language arts. So for the language arts lesson plan, I really wanted to create an interactive experience for the students to have. This is because it needs to be applied in the regular English speaking classroom and for English language learners. So I really wanted them to be able to interact with each other and learn from each other and have that scaffolding happen, especially in Austria, the ages from 3 to 6. The older students can help the younger ones, obviously, and help them learn the English words that they may not know yet, or vice versa. The younger kids can even help the older kids learn and explore new things. So I really I picked the book Tap the Magic Tree to base my lesson on, because it was interactive, and when you read the book, the students like shake the book or they blow the leaves off and make the apples fall when you slam it. It's really cool and really neat, so I figured this would be a good way for them to really have an immersive experience and learn about the 4 seasons. So let's see here. So obviously we have the welcome to class, since this has to be modified for students who are in Austria. So with the students being English language learners, I feel like you really have to implement the new vocabulary to them. So you have to go over the words for like winter, spring, summer, fall, season, trees, leaves, flowers, apples, and snowflakes before you even begin reading the book, just so they have that background knowledge and are able to go ahead and move on and really understand the content of the book. So I also chose Tap the Magic Tree because it goes along with the seasons. So when they start with the seasons, they have that outline. Oh, So different things can change in nature, and then they can go ahead and move on to deeper concepts. So how there's different types of weather and also how to dress for that, which we will work up to through the entirety of this unit. So for this, I really wanted to include like a dress-up activity because this kind of stimulates all the senses. So the students can like hold and feel the props, and the teacher, so when the students stand up in the circle, there's going to be a few in the center, and then the students in the center are the trees, and then all the students around will have baskets of props. So the teacher is going to hold up a cue card in English with the word on it. So say they'll hold up for fall, so the teacher will call out fall, and she'll hold out the word written in English, and the students will have to go ahead and look at it and dress the student up. So I thought that that was a really neat and cute idea, since we were told that we don't really have any specific limitations for this lesson, so I kind of just let it go and wanted to have a fun time with the kids and allow them to dress up and experience this with one another. I didn't really go specific into the props for the sole reason that the teacher gets to choose what the props are made out of. You can obviously do like a more permanent one where you have them like made out of felt. I actually got the idea from a little felt apple that I have that was a gift from my parents for that, so I figured it would be cute and it would be 3D, and it would kind of be like they're actually interacting with the objects. Now you can also go ahead and do paper that's laminated for the students to use. This came into mind especially with the recent events of COVID-19, and also just in general in classrooms, germs get spread very easily. So if these are going to be used a lot, I would most definitely recommend having the paper and laminating it, just so you can spray them down and disinfect them, especially if they're going to be used a lot in the class. Okay, so now we are on the math lesson plan, which uses the EdTPA design, and it's also going to use backwards design as well. So, of course, first we had to determine what our learning target was. So stage 1 is the desired results. So I really wanted to have the students be able to pair up and do group work with each other in this lesson. So together we're going to have them create data charts with information and also add and subtract numbers that are less than or equal to 20. So this go ahead and goes with the Ohio Department of Education math standards. So I actually have 3 in this one. So for the first one, it's organizing, representing, and interpreting data with up to 3 categories, and also constructing the chart and making sure that they look consistent. And then the second one is relating counting to addition and subtraction by counting on to add to. And then the last one is adding and subtracting numbers within 20 to demonstrate fluency and within the number of 10 as well. So these are all the first grade standards. And then I linked it to the social studies standards that I had mentioned at the beginning, so the NCSS Standard 3, how the study of people and their environments and what our relationship is with it. So let's go ahead and see. So obviously we wanted to make some exceptions for students who are English language learners in case this is ever used like in Austria or even like in a classroom who it consists of all like English language learners. So I really wanted to have the students intermixed and paired up so they can really scaffold each other and then also present those who are learning English with their own math vocabulary. And then students with visual impairments, I thought it was a good idea to give them close seating so they can really see what's going on and see what's happening on the board. And also students who may have autism or have a disability that won't let them grasp abstract concepts like, oh, this is the weather, but I can't see it. They'll receive pictures to represent the symbol, so they'll get like 8 suns, 8 pictures of the sun. So these students will just need their notebooks and writing materials, and they're going to go ahead and review the different kinds of weather. So that's actually stage 3 of the backwards design model, which is planning for learning experiences. So together the students are going to review addition and subtraction and also the different kinds of weather, just so they have a good base and background to complete the lesson. And then during, the students are going to be put into pairs. I thought that this was a great idea so they could have collaboration, cooperation, and patience with one another, which is a skill that is needed especially a lot in these days with all the collaboration and stuff being implemented into the classroom. So the students are going to ask one another what their favorite kind of weather is and record the tally for the other person on the board. And then together they're going to share the results and do an independent worksheet just so the teacher can see how well they work independently and can hold themselves up and how much they really grasp the concept. So then for the backwards design model stage 2, it's determining acceptable evidence. So I'm going to go ahead and have a formative assessment just because this is just like a review activity. You can do this at the end before your big summative assessment just to make sure that they really can demonstrate their skills, and they're going to do this by filling out a worksheet, and then after they do so they'll turn it in to the instructor and they can go ahead and review it and see if it's acceptable and if they are really understanding the key concepts of addition and subtraction. And then last but not least, we are at our science lesson plan, which is incorporating our weather gizmo. So for the learning target, I really want students to be able to demonstrate their knowledge using the science gizmo in different ways, and knowing how to dress for different kinds of weather and seasons, since that's so important and that's a big thing that all people need to have so they can really dress appropriately, and especially stay safe, because even though weather doesn't seem like such a big thing to us, it can be for other people. So this go ahead and goes with the Ohio Department of Education science standards, so that the sun is the principal source of energy and it really warms, and then the cooling of the air, water, and the land is affected by it, and also the water in the earth is present on many forms. So this is like solid, vapor, liquid, gas. The water cycle, is not introduced until grade 2, and it's reserved for later grades. Right now we just want them to understand that water can be in different forms. And then obviously it connects back to the standard 3 for NCSS. So we have some UDL modifications, so intermixing the English language learners like before, and also having students who have hearing impairments will receive written out directions for them to follow, since this is a game and it has steps with it that the student will have to understand. So before, we're going to go ahead and observe the current weather outside. So this kind of gets them in motion and ready to participate in the game. So the teacher will then ask them how it affected what they wore to school today. So they'll give like their responses and tell you why. So then you'll go ahead and say, well, that's what we're going to do today with our game. Now, in the previous lessons, the gizmo is used as a way to get the class oriented for the lesson, and it isn't really incorporated. So in this, I wanted to incorporate the gizmo as much as I possibly could. So I created a game that goes step by step where they interact with all the pieces of the weather gizmo. I know that kids really love games and they're always actively engaged. So the game starts off with the student spinning the spinner and they're given a season. The next student in line then tells them, oh, it's going to be rainy out, so you get a rainy fall day. The student then has different articles of clothing for them to put on, and then afterwards they have to justify to the class why they picked out the clothing items that they did. After doing so, and they get the approval from the class, they get to go and throw a hacky sack at the way they had to dress themselves, and then after doing so they have to solve the puzzle for the season that they spun on the spinner. And then I thought it would be a good idea for when they're finished for them to create a weather journal and create the different outfits, and that will be the assessment at the end. I will give them different kind of formations and stuff like that for them to flip open to. So show me what outfit you would wear on a snowy day, and they'll open up their journal to that, and that's my form of assessment. So overall, I have a great time completing this unit. I felt like it was a really good learning experience for me to have, especially as a pre-service educator and going in and coming out of different field experiences, I feel like this will help me be more ready to prepare different lesson plans and make them more in-depth and really tie them in with the student content. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and just leave them below, because I would love to have some feedback even on this and maybe talk about a couple things.